Well, good afternoon, everybody. So today's task that we are going to try to knock out is these trees here. This is a power line right away that brings power into our property. And I planted these pine trees about 5 years ago, and they have grown amazingly fast. We're blessed with great soil up here. But the problem is when you plant them when they're just a few inches tall, it looks like you've spaced it out huge. Now as they grow, you can see that's not good. We've got this one here that is almost the height of the power line, and these are starting to encroach in on the power line, including this one right here. So what I'm going to attempt to do is take the old John Deere 4066 and hook up to my root rake, and I'm going to try to push these over. Now that was an expensive tractor, so I'm not about abusing my equipment. If these won't push over easily, some of these are starting to get pretty decent size, I'm just gonna ease up to them with the tractor, push on them, and then I'll just cut them off with a chainsaw. But there is, this one right here is the only one very concerning. It looks like it almost could be the height of the power line, so I have to be very careful here. I wanna come in from the other direction, push on this. Like I said, if I can't get it to push over, I'm gonna be real gentle because I don't want it to whip back, touch the power line with me and the tractor hooked up to that. So this could be dangerous. If these were any taller, I'd probably call the power company, but the rest of these aren't up to the line yet, so I feel confident I can do this job safely. Like I said, if I can't get this one pushed, I'll just stay pushed up to it, cut it with a chainsaw, push it over. But that's today's plan. We're gonna go ahead and clear some of these trees out. The line cuts back into our property down here another direction where I have a different type of very bushy pine. Sadly, some of them are gonna grow up and touch the line within the next year or so. So I've got to take a few of those out as well. Figure I'd talk again real quick before I put this thing as fast forward. That was the biggest tree that I had to push over, and that was absolutely no problem. I mean, you can see on the size of my hand here, it's nothing huge, but tractors aren't designed for tree pushing either. And it pushed that over no problem. I was able to get underneath it, pop a few little roots out. So that was great. That was the biggest tree I had to worry with and the closest one to the power line, so I'm happy with that. And I don't know if you can see, I accidentally backed into another tree, wasn't paying attention, and the box blade pushed it over and popped it out like it was nothing. Now I'm gonna take these trees out anyway, so that's okay. But now I'm thinking all these smaller ones I ain't even gonna fool with the root rake. I'm just gonna back into them with the box blade and pop them over just like I did that one. So I'm gonna go ahead and speed this up, let you watch me clear this out real quick. And then we'll get this mess cleaned up and move on down to the other power line right away where I have a different type of tree. Well, the tractor forks work pretty good, so I'm glad I hooked those up. Got one problem though. This was level. It's not no more. Backing into one of those stumps, I bent this thing pretty bad. Pretty bad. So as of right now, I could adjust that out and use this to level the ground, but this needs to get fixed. So you can see it's bowed pretty bad. It bent this, looks like 3/16 angle iron right here as well, plus this plate. So this thing's not really reinforced properly. It needs to be reinforced all the way across as well. So I think I got an idea on how to bend this back. Worst case scenario, we'll beat this in with a sledgehammer. All right, let's see what happens here. So you can see what I got going on. Very bottom of the blade hooked to this tree. So I'm gonna put it in low range and see if the tractor has enough power to bend this back this direction. All right, let's take a look at it. Well, and I'm on a hill, but I can already tell that's just about back to level. My blade looks okay, nothing happened there. These are back straight now. Now this is still all funky from beating with a sledgehammer and pulling. So I'm going to straighten these up just a little bit more. Then I'm gonna weld in and reinforce them, and I'm gonna weld me a nice thick bar across inside those pins from side to side, so these pieces of angle iron can't twist like that. Might do something across these two since they bent. It'll be a nice big old piece of angle iron welded to both of them. All right, I just got done welding me up a heavy duty 220 plug here. Going over to my breaker so I can use my little lunchbox welder. And this little welder right here, you'll see them all over Amazon and eBay. I have had that welder for 6 years, and I have built all kinds of tractor equipment, did weld repairs, and I have never had a weld break. And what's crazy is all my welding up until today has been on a 110 volt outlet with that. I originally bought it, I think it was $160 just to get me by until I could buy me a nice welder, which I'm still planning on doing. But it's giving me no problems. I have more than paid for it. It's been an excellent little welder. All right, well, let's see here. Let me show you what we're gonna do today. Basically what failed on me the other day was this section here bent and buckled out on both sides. So obviously that's no good from the factory. It's just not strong enough. You can still see how this is. I'm gonna try to clamp a nice solid piece of metal here, bend this out, otherwise I'll beat it with a sledgehammer. So my plan is to weld reinforcement down to each side and a brace across the middle to kind of make somewhat of an H. That'll really reinforce this piece. The other part that failed was these two pieces bent out when this gave way. So I'm gonna reinforce them. And if I've got the metal, I'm going to tie a bar all the way across from there to there, because these thick pieces of angle iron kind of twisted in a little too when this gave away. So I am absolutely shocked, as thick as all this metal is, that it bent like it did. So bad design from the factory, really, because man, we're fortunate in Florida. We don't have a bunch of rocks or craziness. This was just bumping into little pine tree stumps, bent it like that. I can't imagine using one of these up north where y'all have rocks constantly in the ground and you catch them all the time. I mean, this just wouldn't last. Everything else looks really good. I don't see anything else that bent. Blades look good, the whole frame looks good, so I'm gonna assume that's strong enough there. But we're gonna go ahead and reinforce this real good. All right, hopefully y'all can see how big of a gap that is, just how deformed this piece of metal is underneath. So I've cut some 1-inch square tubing, and this is pretty thick wall stuff. I'd ordered it a while back. I would love to carry it further top and bottom, but I'm just limited on how much metal I have. I need to get this repaired, so I can go out there and finish clearing up everything. But these are cheap China clamps, as you can see, but I've had really good luck with this brand in the past. So get you a set of medium to heavy duty clamps and you'd be surprised how much you can bend steel back. Watch this. I've been beating on that with a sledgehammer and got it about as straight as I can get it. This clamp has got it right back where it needs to be. So what I'll do is tack weld this, move down, clamp that, tack weld it till I get this piece straight. Repeat the same on the rear. Also on this side over here, weld it all up once I get it all nice and straight, and it'll be reinforced very well. All right. Well, this is definitely reinforced a whole lot better than it was. I know it looks a little bit like Frankenstein, but this should hold well. As you can see, I did some pretty thick 1-inch square tubing down each side to straighten it back out. Little H brace across the middle. That should definitely keep these pieces from ever buckling out again. Did some pretty thick angle iron down this side and tied to those 2 rods that had bent out this way at one point in time, so those definitely should not bend out again. And then on the front, real thick piece of like 3/16 angle iron right here. It goes all the way across and ties those 2 bottom pieces together to keep them from buckling in again, which those won't buckle in again unless these top pieces break. So if I bend all this steel, chances are I'm carrying the tractor to the shop because I have broke the tractor. So that's pretty well reinforced. Before I paint it all up, grind it all down and make it look a whole lot better, we're gonna carry it on out there and do some cleaning with it, because now's the time to figure out if I need to reinforce anywhere else or if I have a problem with fitment on any of this before I take the time to grind it all clean, paint it, and make it look pretty. So let's go put this to work and test it out. All right, everybody, it is next day after I did this weld repair. As you seen yesterday, I pushed up several stumps and really put this to work. I don't see anything buckled, bent, no pop welds. So it looks like this is gonna hold really well. I feel like I won the lottery. We actually got our first rain in a while last night. We've only had 2 rains in the last several months. So, oh, it's been dry. They're calling for more rain today, so I gotta get with it. This is the last trees that I have pushed down over this overhead power line. So I've got to get these uprooted and out. These are called sand pines right here, and they got a lot of stringy roots that go everywhere. I've done got 1 up. Got 2 to 3 more in there to get up. So once we get them up, we'll start leveling this area. We'll go finish leveling the other area that's down there. Put out a little bit of grass seed, and we're done with this job.